best press in the world.
I just wanted to ask you the recent incident that has happened with you. So, how this incident is very different for you, because many of the reporters, many of the journalists were there as well, correct? So, what invoked you to ask such question from Prime Minister Modi?
Well, I think I just reject the premise that any leader of such a large nation or any leader of any nation can host a press conference or a press brief and give talking points and then not take critical questions. I don't think a well-functioning democracy works without a free press.
Okay, so basically, likewise, when you are talking about the free press and World Freedom Press Freedom Index, correct? So Norway is on the top when we are saying this particular thing, and when we are talking about India, so it is on 157th position, correct? So somehow when I see this particular data like about Norway and India, so they are very much different, correct, as far as their ranking is concerned. So many of the reports and many of the claims is like that this World Press Freedom Index, which has been released by the organization, it is something like NGO, and thereafter this has been sourced by the George Soros. Many of the claims is like that George Soros fund this particular World Freedom Index report. So what do you say about that, whether it is independent report or it has some influence regarding any of the leader like George Soros?
I haven't looked at all the funding that the World Press Freedom Index gets, but I trust their index and I also trust their independence, although they might get funds from Soros or other powerful people. I trust them to do their objective evaluation. So I'm not worried about that.
Okay. So basically, when you started, like when you went to that press hall and thereafter you said this line, the reporters in Norway, your prime minister is not giving time to those reporters, correct? You wrote on your Twitter account. So what do you think? Yes.
I was critical of that because when the thing was set up this way that your prime minister Modi was going to be escorted off stage and then just into the elevator and then go on his way to the King of Norway, which is just literally right down the hill from where we were, and then Støre would come back after he followed him to talk to the Norwegian press. And he did talk to the Norwegian press. He didn't have a lot of time because he was also coming or going to see the king. So on the way out, two of my colleagues from India tried to ask Støre a few questions, and he didn't have time to take it. And then that's why I asked him, why don't you take some questions from the Indian press here today? And then the colleague, his colleague, the prime minister's colleague, or she works in the administration of his office, she said, we will do that later today. And they did do that later today. And they did take questions from the Indian press also Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw a few of the Indian members of the press asking my prime minister questions then too. So I think all in all, he did his democratic duty on this tour. Modi's tour here, and I don't think the Prime Minister of India did.
Okay. So basically, if I talk about the Indian leaders, so which of the leader do you like, if you know their names?
I don't like or dislike any. I'm not. I tried to say this so many times now. I'm not going to get into the politics of India because I know that that is for you and your readers or audience, and also for other journalists and politicians. It's for them to moderate. My only purpose with this whole thing was trying to bring up a question of press freedom in India. And also, not only in India, also press freedom in light of how we view it in Norway, and also that my prime minister, the way they also set up this visit so that there wouldn't be any questions. I reject that premise. That was all I wanted to do. So I'm not going to sit and say, I like these people, I like these people. That's not my job. That is for the Indian audience and people to decide.
Okay, then thereafter, when they did press conference, like Indian dignitaries, when they did press conference later, you later asked them ki why I should trust you.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And that's in light of the human rights violations and in light of the lack of press freedom in India. So that's why I asked that. And I think trust is important. Trust between cooperating nations is important because when the Nordic countries they all stand next to Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday, they said we're going to grow our economies together. And I'm also trying to ask at what cost if there will be human rights violations.
So basically, when we are talking about the press freedom index, and you told that India has less press freedom, something like that, correct? And
yeah, you have less press freedom in India, and I'm hoping that it might change in the future because there's a lot of great reporters in the India doing so much important work. So I believe that it can be better.
But I just have a counter question related to this. Recently, a Norway newspaper, a big newspaper, they have created a cartoon image of Prime Minister Modi after the visit and after the incident.
Yes.
After that particular incident, and they wrote over there that a sneaky and slightly annoying man over there, the headline of that particular newspaper. And thereafter, I just wanted to ask you, is that also a press freedom, that how a press is showing to another country's prime minister in a cartoonistic way? And I think it is some kind of demoralizing another country by showing their prime ministers in a cartoon format.
Yeah.
Correct?
I get your opinion. Yeah, I get your opinion on that, and I also understand the frustration because I talked to people about this cartoon after. I have not been able to. I haven't even really read the comment yet because I've been busy trying to answer as many interviews as possible about my own thing this week. So I have not put myself into that situation or like tried to read anything up about it. I really haven't studied the cartoon either because I don't have time. I do almost back-to-back interviews with small and large channels.
Yes.
So I don't and I also have to do my job, which I'm covering a strike here in Norway as well. So there's a lot going on in Norway still too. But I will say racism is not covered under press freedom, and I cannot say for certain if that was racist or not because I have not looked into it. But I know that the newspaper is taking these very feedbacks that they're getting from India into consideration. Because I did listen to a short podcast where they said that, yeah, this is something we evaluate and we're going to be discussing. So I know, because I know the editor of this newspaper, and she's a respected editor here in Norway, so I know the intention of the newspaper, the cartoonist, or the painter. I think there are probably some cultural context that was not understood, and that's why this happened. And I don't like that a lot of Indians think it was racist. It makes me feel really sad, and I think that's feedback that they have to take into consideration. But no, racism is not covered under press freedom in Norway.
Yeah, racism is not covered, but many of the people in India get disappointed by seeing these visuals because it is like the leader of the country, and thereafter another press is showing him something like that. Correct? So
You can understand their frustration. It's really just one of those things where it might also be just political satire in Norway might be different than in India. I'm not going to try to explain it because it would be uneducated of me since I haven't even looked too closely at the cartoon.
Okay, so my another question would be like, you have seen in India that there is new party emerging. I have seen your tweet as well regarding the cockroach Janta
Oh yes,
party.
that I have not been able to. I've started reading about it, and I found it really interesting that they were able to gain that much traction in just
Even
has it been a week?
it's been around 7 to 8 days, and they are getting like 24 million followers in a single
That's
week.
crazy.
Yes.
I'm so curious. What do you think that it tells you or tells me as a foreigner and also the rest of the world about India? that someone can just start something like that. It's a cockroach and then it's just blowing up.
So basically, it was all about the judge in India. There is a Supreme Court judge who just said in an incident that the people who are not working, they are something like cockroaches, correct? Or the uneducated people who are not working, they are like cockroaches.
Oh.
So that took our Gen Z very strictly, and thereafter they started making this page. And the person who has started this page, he's sitting in America and he is creating this particular thing.
Oh yes, I've seen his in socials. I heard he also was getting some very nasty comments and threats.
Yes, and thereafter
Oh, that's awful.
when this incident happened, so your both the accounts was suspended, correct? And
Yes, it
have
was.
you received both the accounts of yours, like Instagram and Facebook, I think?
So I think it's funny to think about it in hindsight because I don't understand how these IT cells, if it is if that's what it is, I don't understand how it works. So, but what I will notice was that I just don't understand how it happened, and also how Facebook doesn't have a better. How can they not block this better? And it happened. It started really escalating, literally just hours after Modi left Norway, which I find interesting, but I'm not going to speculate on why.
So basically, when I texted you at that time, like you had around 2,000 followers on Twitter, and thereafter your Twitter's following started emerging, and right now it comes to 97,000 followers, correct? After that incident. So how you seeing this
Um,
incident? It is giving you a better opportunity for raising voice. How you're seeing this particular thing?
I don't know exactly because, of course, with a platform, it comes responsibility with it. And I don't know how I'm gonna use the platform because I really much agree that it's the journalists of India that are on the ground and still dedicated to truthful reporting and based on facts and not in misinformation that should be the ones that are getting these platforms. So I want to try to shift the attention towards some of the reporting coming from India. I think that would be the best way to go about it forward. And I'm probably going to tweet about stuff I find interesting in the world. But as everyone probably knows by now, I'm much more familiar with the United States and Europe than I am with India. I'm very excited to learn a lot more about India, but the political system of India and the history of India and just the diverse population you have is something that I have to look a lot more into before I could really get too much into the other discussions about India